Hey, what's up you guys? So today I'm about to start a 24-hour readathon. So I'm going to start this readathon at noon and I'm going to end it at noon. And so this is starting on December 31st and it's going to go through January 1st. I feel like this is going to be a fun readathon to do because I'm reading into the new year to hopefully give it some good karma so that hopefully it isn't as bad as it has been this past year. That's essentially what my goal is. If it sucks next year, then maybe I won't repeat this same trend. But next year I will probably do the same thing because I think this is a great way to kind of toast the new year. So my TBR for this readathon is a little bit hefty. I don't know how much of it I'm going to get through, but I'm just going to tell you what I'm reading right now. So I'm going to be starting Extras by Scott Westerfeld. I need to finish this today so I can hit my 50 book goal for 2020. Hopefully I should be able to do that. It's going to take a lot of work, but I got this. And then once I finish this, if I finish this, I would like to start A Beautifully Foolish Endeavor by Hank Green. I read An Absolutely Remarkable Thing earlier this month and I really enjoyed it, so I hope that I enjoy this too. So if you don't know, Extras is a companion novel to the Ugly series, which I just finished yesterday night, so I should have book talks up for that whole series. Maybe up by now, maybe not up by now. It kind of depends on when I film my specials book talk. Extras follows a different character in this universe, and I have no clue what it's about other than it takes place in the same universe. A Beautifully Foolish Endeavor is the sequel to An Absolutely Remarkable Thing, so this book kind of picks up where that last one left off, and so this book follows a girl who became famous via viral videos about this phenomenon that had happened where statues had popped up all over the world in various cities, and she had posted a video about one of them, naming him a Carl. That is actually what became their name, was what she had named them in their video. So it kind of follows a lot about internet fame and what that's like, and so this book is the second book in that series and I've heard great things about it, and so I'm really excited to pick it up. I do know that this one is multiple perspectives. It doesn't just follow the main character like it did in the last one. This one follows all of the different characters from the last book, so I'm really excited about that. And so the last book that is on my TBR that I will get to if I finish both of these is Daisy Jones and the Six. This is a book written by Taylor Jenkins Reid, and I believe it is about the formation of a rock group and how they kind of come to fame. I read The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by her, and that was my favorite book of the year, and probably my favorite book of all time now. It's really hard for me to make that call, but I think I'm just gonna make it favorite book of all time. So I look forward to picking up this book as well, but I may not get to this one. And then while I'm also doing both of these two books, I also have an audiobook going for Lady Midnight, and so while I kind of do my chores and do my errands that I need to do today, I'm going to try to listen to Lady Midnight. So Lady Midnight is the first book in the Dark Artifices series. I have not yet finished that series. I've read the first two books, but I want to reread them both before I read Queen of Air and Darkness, so that's what I'm trying to do right now. So anyways, let's get into the reading. This has been a really long intro. I apologize. Okay, so I have read 50 pages of extras so far, and it's been like an hour, so it's only like 1 o'clock, but so far I am enjoying it. The reputation culture that they have really reminds me of Meow Meow Beans from Community. I hope you know what I'm talking about. But that one episode, book is just reminding me so much of it. And I like how this world has developed into what it has developed in this book, where their economy is based off of your reputation. I think that's really fascinating, and I think that it is kind of reminding me a lot of how our culture is today, and how what you say and what you put out on the internet and things like that, how important that is, and how one mistake can really cause an avalanche of problems. And I'm also really enjoying the main character in this book. I think that she's kind of relatable, more so than the other characters from the rest of the Ugly series. So definitely excited to keep reading this. So I will update you guys later once I have read some more. Okay, so I just finished part 1 of Extras, and so far I do think the beginning of this book is pretty exciting. I like the pacing overall. What I don't necessarily like is this feels like 3 disconnected stories rather than one flowing story, if that makes any sense. Like, we've got a little bit of a romance plot going on that feels not really connected to the infiltrating the Sly Girls plotline, which it does not really feel connected to the weird city killing plotline that's going on. So there's just a lot of different things that are going on, and it is really exciting. I just want it to kind of feel a little bit more meshed in together. So far that's really my main issue with the story so far, but other than that, I do really enjoy it. I like how it's looking at fame. I feel like I've read a lot of books in the past month that deal with fame, and I think that it's interesting to kind of discuss, and I think that it is something that we should be discussing more, is how fame impacts people. And I feel like this book, it's kind of discussing some topics that I think are really interesting, such as the fact that there are some stories that are too interesting. You know, you only have so much time that you're going to invest into any one story, and so a story that is too interesting you're not going to watch. It's kind of like Jenna Marbles and her dogs. Like, we will all watch Jenna Marbles with her dogs, but we're not going to necessarily watch other more complex stories than that. So it's just an interesting take, and I think it's an interesting discussion. I also really like Aya so far. I think that she is really strong as a main character. I really like her brother and their relationship, and I like how that's kind of developing. I like her brother's friend. He's probably one of my favorite characters right now, even though we've only had very small moments with him. I just think that he's kind of an amusing character. He's kind of like the comedic relief to me right now. I do think that I want to get a little bit more development with the Sly Girls characters. We should hopefully get that in the rest of this story, but we shall see. And as I said, it's 2:42 p.m., so 2.5 hours into the readathon, and I have so far read 160 pages. Okay, so I decided it was time for a coffee. So I also have made it about halfway through the book, a little over halfway. I'm at page 220. Right now, my biggest thought is that the guy, like the male love interest in this book, he has not been developed at all, and their relationship went from like 0 to 100 real quick. They haven't really said like I love you or anything like that, but like the amount of which they are attached to each other is really a lot for the fact that they've had like 2 conversations together, and I just don't get it. So I really want him to be developed more, but I don't expect that to happen. I also feel like we've thrown out one of the 3 plot lines, so now we've just got the romantic plot line and we've got the serial killer plot line, but we no longer have really the Sly Girls plot line, which I'm fine with because, as I said, too many things were going on in the beginning, but I do wish that we had gotten a little bit more development with them. I don't like that they just kind of disappeared and walked out of the story. That feels kind of lame to me. So hopefully we can kind of get some more stuff picking up with this whole serial killer thing. Some stuff has changed in that whole plot line, and I am kind of curious to see where this is going to go, but hopefully I like it and I don't not like it like I didn't like the Sly Girls thing. So I'll keep you updated, and I will also keep you updated as I get more coffees. Also, I don't know if I mentioned this, but it's like 3:30. Okay, so time for another update. So I just hit page 300 and I finished part 2 of Extras, and this book is getting a little bit interesting. It is definitely kind of changing overall. So Tally has kind of come back into the fray in this book, and I don't know how I feel about it yet. But I do know that Frizz is becoming a very funny character to me. I did not like his development before, but I'd say about midway through the book is when he starts to actually pick up as a character. So another thing that this book kind of discusses is crowds and how crowds can be very smart. Like, they can come up with things and they can kind of pick out details. Kind of like how in An Absolutely Remarkable Thing, how once everyone had kind of collectively gotten together and worked on the whole dream sequence, they were able to solve a lot of the different parts of it. And so this book kind of delves into that whole idea as well. But I also want to make a comment about that and say that crowds can also be very dumb. They can really take something out of context. They can really pick apart something and take away its meaning. And so I think that there's simultaneously a genius to crowds, but also a dumbness to crowds. And so I think both of those two things kind of need to be weighed when you are kind of discussing whether or not a crowd can handle information. I just think that was an interesting discussion in here. So I am going to finish up this book and let you know what I think when I get there. It is currently like 5 o'clock. Yep, just about 5 o'clock right now. So far, so good. So far I have read 300 pages. Okay, so it's now like 8:08 and I just finished Extras. I also ate dinner, but I didn't show you guys that. But I finished this book and I had a lot of issues with the last section of the book because I couldn't stop thinking about how wrong the science was, which was just such a pet peeve of mine. So a little fun fact, this book in the last half of it or so, they're all traveling in these suits that simulate zero gravity, and you can't simulate zero gravity like that. Like, you can't just wear something and simulate having no gravity. Like, I can't think of a way that would work. because when you're experiencing gravity, you're not actually experiencing the feeling of gravity, you're experiencing what's called the normal force. So when it comes to moving objects, I don't know if y'all have taken a physics course, but when it comes to moving objects, in order for an object to change direction or anything, it has to accelerate in a direction, and that acceleration has to be caused by a force. And so if you're just like sitting still, there's no net force acting on you. So all of the gravity that you're experiencing is being equaled out by the normal force, which is the force of whatever surface you are touching pushing back up on you. So there is no way to like simulate that with a suit. It would have to be something that's like embedded in you for it to simulate like on the earth the way that they were kind of discussing it. Because the way that we simulate it like in astronaut training and stuff is we actually put someone in a plane and then we just put them in free fall. And so that's how we simulate zero gravity, but that still isn't quite accurate to what the actual experience of being in zero gravity is like. And the thing is when you're in orbit of the earth, you're actually in free fall. Fun fact, you're not actually experiencing zero gravity. You are experiencing gravity. I'm trying to figure out how to explain this without a diagram. Let me see if I can get a sheet of paper. Okay, so this is the Earth. Now, when you launch a spaceship, you are essentially taking an object and you're throwing it into Earth's gravity so that it's traveling horizontally and falling. And so it's just constantly falling at the curvature of the Earth. So it's just falling around the Earth. Does that make sense? I hope so. I'll link a video down below that explains it better because I am not fantastic at Physics 1, but I do remember Physics 1. And so the way in which they just described that in this book was very off, and it really just bugged me the entire time because I was like, I can't figure out how this would work. I can't tactily figure out like what you are experiencing, because even if you're wearing a suit, like you're experiencing the normal force of that suit pushing you. Now, next issue, you can create artificial gravity in space, which would make a lot more sense than like physically changing someone and like getting rid of gravity altogether. Like just make something spin. Like that's all you have to do. You just make something spin and then that creates artificial gravity because of the centrifugal force. And so if you don't know what that is whenever something is changing direction or is changing speed, you have to have an acceleration. And so the centrifugal force is whatever force is causing the acceleration towards the center of the circle. And so whenever something is spinning, there's always acceleration towards the center. And so that's kind of how rotational motion works. There's a lot of other stuff that goes into play. Rotational motion gets really complex, so I don't want to overload your brains too much. But anyways, that was another thing that was just like, you can create artificial gravity. Like why not just make artificial gravity in space? Next issue, people can't survive in zero gravity. There's a reason why the International Space Station, why we create artificial gravity there is because you physically, like your body will start to deteriorate after a certain amount of time in zero gravity. Your bones lose their density, your muscles start to atrophy a little bit. So all in all, like the science didn't make sense. So the whole plot line there just really bugged me. So I think I'm gonna give this book a 3 out of 5 stars. It was pretty good in the beginning, but the end was not great at all. And I do think it was a little messy in the beginning as well. So that's kind of my thoughts on extras. So I'm going to try to maybe take a little break for a second, clean up my room a little bit, and then I will start a beautifully foolish endeavor, which hopefully won't have any pet peeve science issues with it, because extras, so many science facts were just really messy. Also, Extras was my 50th book of the year, so I made it with 4 hours to spare, so yay, woot woot. I made it. I'm so proud of myself. This is the most reading I've done in such a long time. Okay, so it is now the 2nd, and I meant to finish my actual readathon that I was doing, but I wound up going downstairs and my parents were playing a game and they invited me to join, and so I did, and we opened a bottle of wine, and that is what happened to my readathon. So I only wound up finishing Extras. I read 10 pages of A Beautifully Foolish Endeavor, and I enjoyed those 10 pages, but I can't really make any judgments about the book because only 10 pages. So anyways, if you like this video, please like, subscribe, comment, all that jazz. I think I'm gonna make this a yearly tradition, so see you next year. I post videos on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays, so I will see you in my next one. Bye!